Pretti-Frontczak, and this is a quick overview of my deep dive masterclass. This is actually a very special deep dive masterclass, and it is in particular for those of you who are what I often think about in terms of carrying the torch of inclusion. It's really making sure that we can provide a continuum of services, but that really inherent in that is our honoring of the least restrictive environment as the first placement consideration for any young child, and that we place children in that least restrictive environment, which is often a community childcare, a Head Start, maybe a 4-year-old program, but that we place children there knowing that we can ensure that they thrive. And so this deep dive masterclass is for any of you that are carrying that torch of inclusion, that believe so strongly that all children have the right to inclusion, that it's not a rite of passage, but that you might be facing a couple of challenges along the way. So in my work as an author, speaker, and play advocate, I've developed these deep dive masterclasses as a way to get to solutions for some of our most complex problems. So let me talk to you a little bit about this very special deep dive masterclass called the Effortless Coach. And so it kind of goes a little story that, of course, if you know me, you know that I'm super passionate about inclusion, that I know and I believe with every ounce of my being that it is a right of all humans, and again, not a rite of passage. But I also am sort of, with it enough to know that there's really complicated out there, and that there aren't always the best placement options to support children where they currently are, and that many times we find ourselves struggling not with the child, not with this preschooler who's on an IEP, but in our adult-to-adult interactions, that we are struggling to get buy-in, we're struggling to find quality placements, we're struggling to have just the time to connect with these amazing community providers about how best to support a child. So while I have this passion for inclusion, and I want to support anyone who's on this journey to ensure inclusion, I also know that there's lots of barriers and lots of challenges, but you know me, I don't want to admire the problem too long. I want to find solutions. And so I met this amazing, I don't even call her because we call her J-Lo. She's Jennifer Lopez. And when I met her, it was just like I had just met this person that I'd always wanted to be. She has a master's degree in a field that we don't talk a lot about in early childhood special ed, but it's about organizational development, systems level change, and really how to think about coaching and supporting people from a place that triggers what we call the positive emotional attractor, this coaching with compassion over compliance, this being your true and ideal self over your ought self. And so when I met her, I was just like, yes, this is what I love. In addition to, of course, my passion for inclusion and finding solutions, I love to think about adult learners, and I love to think about how we grow and change, and I love to think about systems level evolution, and that's all part of the revolution. So all those sort of things kind of came together. This passion for inclusion, recognizing that so many of you who are out there in the community, whether you call yourself a coach or a community teacher, an itinerant teacher, even related service people have this as their job every day, this trying to help other adults get to a change in practice. And so before I go a little bit more about the master class, this is one of my favorite quotes from Margaret Mead, and it says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Because sometimes when you are working in a system that seems broken on so many levels, or feel like there are so many systems level barriers, maybe it doesn't even seem like J-Lo can come in and wave a magic wand and help us get to a change in practice. So how does this small group, how does this deep dive masterclass get to the change that we all want to see? And so there's a couple of things if you've not participated in a deep dive with me before. Basically, you're going to get lots and lots of tools. Some would say maybe too many tools, but you know me, if one is good, 1,000 is even better. But they're very practical, and they're all evidence-based about things you can put directly into your practice as a coach, a community teacher, an itinerant professional. Again, we go by lots of different labels, but you're there carrying that torch for inclusion, ensuring that children are in their least restrictive environment. You will also have access to a bunch of other people who have the same job as you. And together, we will help each other stay accountable. We'll help leverage our strengths, and we'll really get to a change in practice. And then you'll become this leader of your life, this leader of your agency, this coach that really is able to shift mindsets and invoke positive change and really get some powerful results. And I know it might sound too good to be possible, but we've done this before with transforming how we write meaningful IEP goals. We've done this around teaching adults to get results. And now we're going to take on how we can do this through coaching. So there will be opportunities in your deep dive masterclass to have access to just the cutting edge resources that are out there in different disciplines related to effective coaching. So you'll read things, watch things, listen to things, and really have a chance to learn from the most pioneering groups out there, many of whom are Jennifer's mentors and where she studied at Case Western. Second, you'll learn live from other community teachers and itinerant professionals, and you'll be able to not just admire the problem together, but really work with those members of that learning community to seek change. And then there's all kinds of action planning. How do we move from this sort of current state of things to our ideal or our dream? How do we actually see that dream become a reality? And so the dive itself is 4 sessions. They are live, but they're online, so no travel needed. And they are through Zoom, so we get to see each other, hear each other, share our screens, so that it's very interactive. They'll all be co-led by myself and with Jennifer Lopez. And so together, we're going to co-facilitate 4 live sessions where we're going to give you tons of access to very practical but evidence-based resources. You'll have a dashboard that you'll have lifetime access to. So if you can't get to everything during the 4 live sessions, you'll have it forever. We'll also talk about do when you face resistance. Just thinking, some of you might say, the problem is not the child or the placement, it's the adults I have to work with. So how do I get that buy-in? How do I get over the resistance that I faced with many of my adult colleagues? And so we'll have a bonus set of materials for you as well. And then there'll be a Facebook group that will be private just for our cohort, where you can continue the conversation in between our live sessions as well as after the 4 sessions end. So what are the 4 sessions all about? They last 75 minutes. Each session goes in a similar way. We have content where Jen and I will be describing something that is an evidence-based practical strategy. There'll be a chunk of time where we'll take real life struggles that you have, case examples, and work through them in real time. And then you'll have time for reflection and action planning. So again, that accountability so that you can use your time to actually start the change that you want to see. So the first session will be all about clarifying, because this is our opportunity to really focus on you as the coach. It's all about you after all. So what are the roles and responsibilities when it comes to serving children in community-based settings? What does it mean to be a coach? What does it look like? And so we will spend that first session really digging deep and clarifying who it is that you want to be as a coach, who you are as a coach, who you might become as a coach. The second session is all about connect. This is how we make friends in the shark-infested waters. You know, I talk a lot about shark music and a lot of things that make us flip our lid. So we're really going to dig deep into what we'll talk about in terms of resonant relationships. How do we form relationships when there isn't any time to cross paths, when we have very different ideas, when I don't even see myself as a coach, or maybe those who I'm coaching don't see me as a coach. So we'll get into all of that about how to make these connections. We'll also, in the third session, dive deep into communication. We will be looking at what is the heart of a coaching session. What is that it really matters? And we'll talk about how we can expand upon those resonant relationships, how we're not there to fix, advise, or tell people what to do, but we're there to help them find a path that will allow children to thrive in their setting. And so we'll learn all about how to trigger the positive emotional attractor, how to ask questions, how to hold space, all these beautiful techniques that will be actually tools you can put into your toolkit for being an effective coach. And then lastly, we'll focus on co-creating. How do you make a plan with other adults, whether those be parents, Head Start teachers, general ed teachers, even co-teachers, to be quite honest. How do you help others come along, get that buy-in, make a plan, and make sure it sticks? How do you stay inspired by the plan? How do you fix the plan when you run into unforeseen barriers? All kinds of things that will make sure that you actually get to a change in practice. So if this sounds like something that would be a fabulous match for the journey that you're on, go to christypf.com, deep dive effortless coach. And when you're there, you can learn a little bit more, and you'll really learn how to turn the dream of inclusion into a reality. And you'll do that through revolutionary coaching practices.